The morning sun barely broke through Seattle's gray clouds when Ethan Marshall, 38, crouched beside a stray dog outside his apartment, offering half his breakfast bagel. The dog, a scruffy mutt with trusting eyes, wagged its tail as Ethan scratched its ears, promising to call a local shelter. "Hang in there, buddy," he murmured, his voice warm. A neighbor passing by smiled. Ethan was the guy who'd fix your laptop or jumpstart your car without a second thought. But as he stood, his phone buzzed with a notification that would unravel his life. Mia, his wife of 10 years, had rushed out at 6:45 a.m., muttering about a work crisis. Her phone, forgotten on the kitchen counter, vibrated again. Ethan hesitated, his thumb hovering over the screen. They'd always trusted each other, shared passwords, no secrets. But something about her hurried exit gnawed at him. The screen lit up, a text from Ryan, his best friend since college. "Meet me tonight, usual spot. Can't wait." Ethan's stomach dropped. Ryan, the guy who'd toasted at their wedding, who'd crashed on their couch after late-night game sessions. A mistake, maybe? He typed their anniversary date, 0614, into Mia's phone. It unlocked. His heart raced as he opened the messages. The thread with Ryan stretched back months. "Miss you already. Delete this after." He doesn't suspect a thing. Photos loaded next. Ryan Mia at a pier cafe, their hands brushing, her smile too intimate. Ethan's breath caught. He scrolled further. A selfie in a dimly lit bar, Ryan's arm around her. The timestamps matched Mia's late work nights. Each image was a jab, each text a deeper cut. This wasn't a fling, it was a secret life. Ethan's first instinct was to call her, to demand answers, but his mind raced faster. He checked her email, dreading what he'd find. A folder labeled work held replies from Ryan. Booked the hotel for next week. Transferred the funds. Careful. Funds? Ethan's pulse quickened. He opened their joint bank app on his laptop, cross-referencing dates. 3 transfers, $5,000 each, to an account he didn't recognize, all on days Mia claimed to be at client dinners. His software engineering brain kicked in, piecing together a pattern. Was this just betrayal, or something worse? He sank into a chair, the dog's distant bark fading as his world narrowed to the screen. Ryan wasn't just his friend. He was Mia's boss at their tech firm, a senior manager with access to budgets. Ethan's fingers trembled as he opened another app, a cloud backup Mia didn't know he'd linked to her phone. There, buried in deleted files, was a spreadsheet, Project X, with coded entries for consulting fees and dates matching the transfers. A sickening realization hit. Ryan and Mia weren't just cheating, they were stealing. The phone buzzed again. Another text from Ryan. "He's clueless." "We're good." Ethan's jaw tightened. Clueless? He'd built apps that tracked data leaks for Fortune 500 companies. If anyone could uncover their game, it was him. But rage gave way to clarity. Confronting them now would tip them off, let them cover their tracks. No, Ethan thought, I'll play smarter. He started downloading every text, photo, and email, saving them to an encrypted drive. His hands moved methodically, like coding a complex algorithm. Tension point. What's the full scope of their scheme? And how far will Ethan go to expose it? Ethan Marshall's fingers flew across his laptop, each click a step deeper into the betrayal that had blindsided him. The Seattle morning outside was forgotten. His world was now the glowing screen, exposing Mia and Ryan's secret life. The phone, still warm from Mia's forgotten grip, revealed more than an affair. It hinted at a calculated scheme. Ethan, a software engineer who'd once traced a data breach to save a client's company, wasn't about to let this slide. He needed the full truth, and he needed it fast. The cloud backup he'd accessed held a goldmine. Beyond the incriminating photos and texts, Ethan found a thread of deleted voice messages. He hesitated, then pressed play. Mia's voice, soft but deliberate, filled his earbuds. "Ryan, we need to move the funds before the audit next month. I'll handle the paperwork." Ryan's reply was smug. "You're a genius, babe." Ethan's too busy coding to notice. Ethan's chest tightened, not from heartbreak, but from the sting of being underestimated. They thought he was oblivious. They were wrong. He opened the spreadsheet from the cloud, labeled Project X. Rows listed dates, amounts, and cryptic codes. Consult, 12K, offsite 8K. Cross-referencing with the bank transfers he'd found earlier, Ethan saw the pattern. $25, funneled to an account in Ryan's name over 3 months. Mia, as Ryan's project lead, had access to the firm's budget. Were they skimming client funds? Ethan's mind raced. This wasn't just personal, it was criminal. He dug deeper, logging into Mia's work email through a backdoor he'd set up years ago for her tech support. A chain between Mia and Ryan discussed a client bonus for a non-existent project. One email, dated last week, made Ethan pause. If Ethan asks, say it's overtime pay. He won't dig. The arrogance fueled him. He traced the account number from the transfers to a local bank, using a script he'd written to scrape public records. The account was tied to Ryan's LLC, a shell company Ethan hadn't known existed. The pieces clicked. Mia and Ryan were embezzling, using their affair as cover. Ethan's phone buzzed. Mia, texting from a work line. Left my phone at home. Crazy day. Back late. He stared at the message, jaw tight. She was still playing him. He didn't reply. Instead, he pulled up the firm's internal audit schedule, public on their site for transparency. An audit was set for next week. If Mia and Ryan were rushing to cover their tracks, Ethan had to act faster. But how? Confronting them would let them spin lies or destroy evidence. He needed a plan that hit hard and stayed clean. He started by mirroring Mia's phone data to his encrypted drive, every text, email, and file preserved. Then he found a photo that twisted the knife. Mia and Ryan at a charity gala Ethan had skipped for a deadline, their smiles smug as they posed for the company's social media. The caption praised their teamwork. Ethan's lip curled. He saved the post, noting the date. It matched a transfer. The gala was a front, a way to justify expenses. His mind shifted to Ryan's wife, Lauren, who'd always been kind, hosting barbecues where Ethan and Ryan had laughed like brothers. She deserved to know. Ethan's fingers paused over the keyboard. Sending evidence to Lauren would spark chaos, but it felt too personal, too raw. Instead, he considered the firm's fraud hotline, an anonymous system he'd helped beta test years ago. If he tipped them off with enough proof, the audit would do the rest. But one detail nagged him, a cryptic text from Mia. If her pushes, I'll tell him about the backup plan. What backup plan? Were they hiding something bigger, something that could implicate Ethan if he wasn't careful? Tension point. What's the backup plan, and can Ethan expose their scheme without getting burned? Ethan Marshall leaned back in his chair, the hum of his laptop the only sound in the quiet Seattle apartment. The screen glowed with evidence. Screenshots of Mia and Ryan's texts, bank transfers, and that damning Project X spreadsheet. His discovery of their embezzlement scheme, $25,000 siphoned from their tech firm, had turned his personal betrayal into a ticking time bomb. The firm's audit was days away, and Mia's cryptic mention of a backup plan gnawed at him. Ethan, a software engineer who'd once debugged a $1 million data leak, knew he had to move fast and smart to expose them without getting caught in the blast. He started with precision, like coding a flawless script. Using a VPN to mask his IP, Ethan created an anonymous email account through a secure server. He compiled a dossier. Every incriminating text, email, and transaction, time-stamped and organized. The spreadsheet's coded entries, disguised as consulting fees, were cross-referenced with the firm's public project logs, showing no such work existed. He added the gala photo, where Mia and Ryan posed as model employees, the date matching a $5,000 transfer. Each piece was a nail in their coffin, but Ethan needed to ensure it wouldn't trace back to him. His next move was riskier. He accessed the firm's fraud hotline portal, a system he'd helped test years ago. It allowed anonymous uploads, routed through encrypted channels. Ethan hesitated, fingers hovering over the submit button. If Mia and Ryan's backup plan involved pinning the fraud on someone else, maybe even him, he had to be airtight. He double-checked his files, ensuring no metadata tied to his devices. Then, with a steadying breath, he sent the dossier to the hotline, scheduling delivery for 3 a.m. to avoid suspicion. The audit team would have it by morning. But Ethan wasn't done. Ryan's wife, Lauren, deserved the truth about the affair. He crafted a second email, softer but direct, from the same anonymous account. You need to know who Ryan really is, it began. He attached 3 photos, Mia and Ryan at the pier, the bar, and the gala, plus a single text. It doesn't suspect a thing. He sent it to Lauren's personal email, found on her social media, scheduling it to arrive after the fraud tip. Ethan pictured her opening it, her trust in Ryan crumbling as his had. It wasn't revenge, it was justice. His phone buzzed. Mia again from her work line, stuck at the office, big project mess. Love you. The lie stung, but Ethan didn't flinch. He replied, take care, keeping his tone neutral to avoid tipping her off. Then he dug deeper into the backup plan. A deleted email in Mia's cloud caught his eye, sent to Ryan 2 weeks ago. If the audit flags us, we say it was a clerical error. I've got the dummy invoices ready. Ethan's pulse quickened. They were prepping to dodge the audit, maybe even frame a junior employee. He saved the email, adding it to his dossier for a follow-up tip if needed. A final piece of the puzzle emerged from Mia's phone backups. A voice note from Ryan, dated yesterday. If this goes south, we stick to the story. Client approve the funds. I've got a guy who'll back us up. Ethan's mind raced. A guy? A third player? He cross-checked Ryan's contacts, finding a name, Mark, a junior accountant at the firm. Ethan recalled meeting him at a company picnic, a nervous kid fresh out of college. Was he their scapegoat? Ethan pulled Mark's LinkedIn, noting he'd been promoted under Ryan's mentorship. Too convenient. Ethan leaned back, the weight of his plan settling in. He could confront Mia now, watch her squirm, but that would give her time to warn Ryan. Instead, he sent a quick, anonymous message to Mark from a burner account. Check the Project X files. You're being set up. If Mark was innocent, he'd dig. If guilty, he'd panic. Either way, it would stir the pot. As Ethan closed his laptop, the stray dog from that morning barked outside, a reminder of the normalcy he'd lost. His plan was in motion, but the backup plan loomed. Tension point. Who is Ryan's guy? And will Ethan's anonymous tips ignite justice or backfire into chaos? Ethan Marshall sat in the dim glow of his laptop, the Seattle skyline, a faint blur outside. His anonymous tips, evidence of Mia and Ryan's affair and their $25,000 embezzlement scheme, had been sent to the firm's fraud hotline and Ryan's wife, Lauren, hours ago. The clock read 7:32 a.m. The audit team would be opening his dossier now. Ethan's plan was a live wire, and he braced for the explosion. His phone, silent since Mia's last text, felt like a grenade in his pocket. He ignored it, eyes fixed on his encrypted drive, where every damning file was backed up. At 8:15 a.m., the first ripple hit. A news alert pinged. Seattle tech firm probes financial irregularities. Ethan skimmed the article, vague, citing anonymous sources, but it mentioned the audit team scrambling. His tip had landed. He leaned back, steadying his breath. Then his phone buzzed. Lauren calling. He let go to voicemail. Her message was shaky but sharp. Ethan, I got an email. Photos, text. Ryan's done. I need to talk. Ethan's jaw tightened. Lauren's pain mirrored his, but he couldn't break cover. Not yet. By noon, the firm's internal Slack channels, which Ethan still had access to from a past project, erupted. Messages flew. Audit teams grilling Ryan. Mia's been called in. A junior employee posted, heard they're looking at fake invoices. Ethan's warning to Mark, the young accountant, had worked. Mark had flagged discrepancies in Project X to his boss, sparking chaos. Ethan allowed himself a tight smile. The net was closing, but Mia's backup plan still nagged at him. What had she meant? At 2:47 p.m., Mia's work line texted. Emergency meeting ran late. Home soon. Ethan didn't respond. He pulled up the firm's live security feed, another backdoor he'd never removed, and saw Mia rush out of the office, phone pressed her ear. Minutes later, Ryan stormed out, trailed by security. Ethan's pulse quickened. The hotline tip, with its screenshots and bank records, had triggered a swift response. But then, an email from an unknown address hit his inbox. You think you're clever, but we've got insurance. Back off. No signature, but Ethan knew it was Ryan. The backup plan was real. Ethan's mind raced. He traced the email's IP to a coffee shop near the firm. Ryan's doing, likely on a burner device. Ethan cross-checked Mia's cloud for clues. A hidden folder held a draft memo, titled Error Report, claiming the $25,000 transfers were client-approved overpayments due to a software glitch. It named Mark as the responsible party. Ethan's blood ran cold. They were framing Mark, the kid he'd warned. He forwarded the memo to the fraud hotline, adding a note. Check this. They're covering their tracks. The fallout spread fast. Lauren's social media went dark, but mutual friends texted Ethan. She kicked Ryan out. He's crashing at a motel. The firm's clients, alerted by the news, demanded answers. One threatened to pull a $2 million contract. Ethan watched the Slack chatter. Ryan's fired. Mia's out too. At 6:12 p.m., Mia's car pulled up outside. Ethan stood, heart steady but heavy. She burst through the door, eyes wide, voice trembling. "Ethan, we need to talk." "It's not what you think." He cut her off, voice low and cold. "I know everything. The affair, the money, the memo, framing Mark." Mia froze, her phone slipping from her hand. "How?" she started, but Ethan stepped closer. "You left your phone here. I saw it all. You're done, Mia. Pack your things." Her knees buckled, tears streaming, but Ethan's gaze was steel. "You and Ryan made your choices. Now leave." She stammered. "There's more to it, I swear." But Ethan shook his head. "No lies. Just go." Mia grabbed a suitcase, hands shaking, and left within the hour. Neighbors' whispers followed her down the hall. Ethan sat alone, the weight of his victory hollow. His phone buzzed. Lauren again. "Thank you, whoever sent that email. I'm free now." Ethan exhaled, but the insurance threat lingered. Ryan's email suggested they had one last card to play. Tension point. What's Ryan's insurance? And will Ethan's careful plan hold against their final move? Ethan Marshall stood at the edge of a Portland tech conference, the buzz of innovators around him a stark contrast to the chaos he'd left behind in Seattle. 6 months had passed since he'd exposed Mia and Ryan's affair and their $25,000 embezzlement scheme. The fallout had been swift. Both were fired, their reputations shredded, and Ethan had walked away from his shattered marriage with surgical precision. Now, in a new city, with a new job at a startup, he was rebuilding. But Ryan's cryptic email, "We've got insurance," still echoed, a loose thread in his otherwise clean victory. The aftermath had unfolded like code executing perfectly. Ethan's anonymous tip to the firm's fraud hotline, packed with screenshots, bank records, and the damning Project X spreadsheet, led to a full audit. Auditors uncovered $30,000 more in misdirected funds, all traced to Ryan's Shell LLC. Mark, the junior accountant Ethan had warned, turned whistleblower, handing over emails that confirmed Mia and Ryan's plan to frame him. Ryan was arrested for fraud, facing charges that could land him years in prison. Mia escaped prosecution but lost her career, her social circle, and her family's trust. Ethan's tip to Lauren, Ryan's wife, had sparked her divorce, freeing her to rebuild with their 2 kids. Ethan sold the Seattle apartment, cutting ties with the life Mia had tainted. The divorce was finalized in weeks, papers signed without a fight. Mia's last attempt to explain, a tearful voicemail about pressure from Ryan, went unanswered. Ethan didn't need her excuses. The evidence spoke louder. He moved to Portland, craving a fresh start. His new role at a green tech startup let him flex his coding skills, building apps for sustainable energy. For the first time in months, he felt unburdened, like a program debugged and running smoothly. At the conference, Ethan reconnected with Sarah, a college friend who'd once warned him about Ryan's shady side gigs, warnings he'd brushed off. Sarah, now a data analyst, had her own scars, a divorce from a controlling ex. Their coffee chats turned into dinners, then a quiet bond. She didn't push, he didn't hide. When she joined him at the conference, her sharp wit and warm laugh felt like home. Ethan glanced at her across the crowded hall, her nod encouraging him to present his latest project. He stepped to the podium, confident, his voice steady as he pitched to investors. The applause was a small triumph, proof he'd moved forward. Then a familiar figure caught his eye, Mia, standing near the back alone. Her posture was slumped, her eyes scanning the room until they met his. Ethan's heart didn't race. It held firm. She approached, hesitant, clutching a conference badge. "Ethan, can we talk?" Her voice was thin, strained. He shook his head, calm but final. "There's nothing left to say. You made your choices." Mia's lip trembled, but she nodded, turning away. Ethan later learned she'd taken a low-level admin job, her once bright career dimmed by shame. Her family, once close, now kept her at arm's length. Ryan's fate was bleaker. Post-arrest, he'd lost everything. His job, his family, his freedom. Lauren thrived, running a small bakery, her kids adjusting to a new normal. Ethan had checked Ryan's LinkedIn out of curiosity. His profile was dormant. His last post a desperate plea for freelance work. The insurance threat? A bluff, investigators found. Ryan had fabricated a client email to cover the fraud, but Ethan's meticulous evidence had dismantled it. The case was airtight. As the conference ended, Sarah linked arms with Ethan, her smile grounding him. They stepped into Portland's drizzle, sharing an umbrella. A text from Lauren arrived. Saw the news about Ryan. Thanks for the truth. We're okay now. Ethan pocketed his phone, the weight of the past lifting. Mia's glance had stirred no regret, only clarity. He'd exposed their lies legally, protected Mark, and freed Lauren, all without breaking his moral code. Tension point resolved. The insurance was a dud, and Ethan's new life, built on truth and resilience, was his real victory. Moral, justice, served cold and lawful, outlast betrayal sting.